It has been a long, hot summer of arduous and insufferable work for the Michigan Wolverines, and now they feel that they have paid the cost to be the boss. They are ready, and Ann Arbor, Michigan is awash, saturated with expectations, as today the Houston Cougars come calling at 1-0 out of Conference USA against the Big Ten's 7th-ranked Michigan Wolverines. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. This is the third meeting all time between these two teams, Bob, and when you speak with the Michigan players, especially the seniors, you get the distinctive feeling that they will settle for nothing less than a Big Ten title and a national championship.
Mark, we had a chance yesterday to visit with Michigan coaches and players. They are an extremely confident football team, particularly on offense. And there's three main reasons: experience, balance, and talent. And when you talk about experience, it all starts with John Navarre, the quarterback. Last week he started his 4th straight opener. He's not flashy. He's had some ups and downs here in Michigan, but he's improved every year. And the biggest thing, the players and coaches trust him. When you talk about balance, they can run the football. Tailback Chris Perry's playing 10 pounds lighter than last year. He looks quicker. He had 232 yards against Central Michigan. And when you talk about talent, there are some talented wide receivers in this country, but Mark, none of them are more talented than Braylon Edwards. He's big and he's fast, and one thing you can count on: when you wear #1 in Michigan, that comes with high expectations.
Yeah, when you look at some of the greats that have worn that number in the past, right now Edwards trying to take a step or two out of the coach's doghouse. As we are set for the kickoff in just a few moments, Lloyd Carr, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, in his 9th season at the helm, the 1997 National Coach of the Year. Last week, after the victory against Central Michigan, pleased on one hand, but not so pleased on the other hand with their effort.
But Mark, we've been around the Michigan program several times, and we go in there on Friday. I think you sense the same thing that I sensed. They feel that there's something special about this football team. I saw more smiles and more of an up-tempo approach around that Michigan football office than I've seen yesterday.
Bob, on the other side of the field, Art Browse is the first-year head coach at the University of Houston. He is the first former player to be the head coach at that school.
And it's an amazing background. He was a head high school football coach in Texas, went to Texas Tech, spent 3 seasons as the running back coach, and now he's the head coach, bringing his alma mater into Michigan Stadium.
Michigan won the toss and has elected to receive the football. Houston will kick off. Back deep, Jeremy Lesueur standing at his own 1-yard line, number 21, along with Pierre Rembert for the Wolverines. And we are underway. The kick goes through the back of the end zone, and Michigan will start on its own 20-yard line. And let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, there's been some concern here in Ann Arbor that people might overlook this game against Houston for next week's game when Michigan takes on Notre Dame. But I talked with John Navarre, and he said, no way. We are looking at this game like we looked at Utah last year. Utah came in here lightly regarded, but they shut us out in the second half, and we escaped with a 3-point win. So Navarre says they are thinking Houston is just like Utah. They will not overlook them. We didn't even hear the words Notre Dame in the football complex this Friday, guys.
All right, Holly, we are set for first down and 10. 3-receiver formation. Bell in motion. Barr on a quick 3-step drop. Dumps it off to his back at the 22-yard line. That's Chris Perry. And let's take a look at the starting quarterback, John Navarre, 6'6", 228 pounds, a senior, just a plain old guy who likes listening to Charlie Robertson country music, and he has really started to take the leadership reins of this team. Let's take a look at the offensive backs and receivers. Perry had a big week last week. Dudley, Bell, Butler, and Massaquoi at tight end. Second down, and about 9 to go. And the 3-receiver set for the Wolverines. Braylon Edwards in the slot. They're going to go up top, and it's incomplete, intended for Tyrese Butler. Let's take a look at that offensive line. Lloyd Carr calls this offensive line a typical Michigan front, strong and stout.
They are that, Mark. It's an impressive group. A lot of 3 fifth-year players on that offensive line.
Tony Pape, one of the leaders up front, along with David Boss against this defensive front for Houston. The key for them today, getting some pressure on the quarterback.
A little bit undersized. The 2 tackles both played and started last year as freshmen, but they're not the biggest, strongest guys.
It'll be third down and long to go for the Wolverines on their opening series of the ball game. Bell in motion. Lamar to pass. And it's broken up nicely at the 37-yard line. Intended for Tyrese Butler. Will Gully The free safety makes the play, and it's 3 and out for Michigan. Let's take a look at the linebackers for Houston. Brooks Everson, Conference USA's Defensive Player of the Week, and Bryant Brown.
And athletic, Mark, and you can say the same thing about their secondary. A lot of speed, a lot of track athletes. You can see on that first series, they're not afraid to get up and challenge these talented Michigan wide receivers.
Adam Finley standing on his own 8-yard line to punt, a career average of a little over 42 yards. It's off a high spiral. Comes down to the 38-yard line. Houston with some talent and speed back there. This is Jermaine Woodard. And he's brought down at the 42-yard line. Kevin Cobb is the starting quarterback, a true freshman from Stephenville, Texas. And a flag down on the play, but had a chance to visit with him at the walkthrough yesterday. Believe it or not, this 18-year-old has a little bit of a swagger to him to go with the goatee, Bob.
I agree. I'm not sure what kind of beads those were he was wearing. Holly had the right name for him. But
during the run back, holding on the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
First true freshman in the history of Houston football to start. 17 of 22 last week. But Mark, he comes from the same high school, Stephenville High School, that Art Rouse was the head coach at. And he has a lot of experience in this scheme, and our people out there watching are going to enjoy this scheme of offense from Houston.
He's been running the system for about 4 years now. Let's take a look at the backs and receivers. Tillman, Gibson, Marshall, Middleton, and Jonathan Pritchett up front at tight end. And Vincent Marshall had a big week last week catching the ball, as did Middleton. Middleton averaging a little over 24 yards per reception. It's going to be first down and 10 for the Cougars, back at their own 29-yard line. They move people around, boy.
They do. They call them imposters. They line people up in the backfield that really aren't running backs, and then they shift them out.
The reception made to Marshall, but he's brought down immediately right near the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look at the offensive line. Hawkins, Swan, Hadnot, Douglas, and Maddox left to right for Houston up against this defensive front. Larry Stevens, a great athlete coming off the edge. Hoyer up there along with Bowman and Kashima.
You'll see Michigan rotate a lot of players in there, Mark. They've got a lot of young talent up front.
They give it to the fullback this time as Jackie Battle gets over the 30 out to the 34-yard line. It'll be third down and about 5 to go. The linebackers, Pierre Woods, Scott McClintock, and Lawrence Reed. McClintock starting for Carl Diggs, the result of a family situation. Lasur and Curry on the corners. Behringer and Shazer, the safeties.
And one name not out there, Marlon Jackson. Big Ten preseason defensive player of the year. He will play a lot today in this football game.
He did not play last week. Third down and 4. Cobb, incomplete. Intended for Jonathan Pritchett. Shazer in on the coverage. There's a flag down on the play. It's going to be against the Houston Cougars. It'll be declined, and they'll punt. So both teams with 3 and outs offensively on their respective series of the ball game, the first one. Jimmy McClary coming in to punt for Houston.
Mark, you get a chance early to see the really chaotic offense of Houston Cougars. It's really a combination of a lot of different things. Some Stephenville High School, some Texas Tech, and some running shoot principles, some veer principles. So you will see everything there is in football today offensively from Houston.
Yeah, Browse right there told us that, hey, we don't really have a playbook. We just kind of draw it up in the sand week to week and see what works. McClary punting from his 25. Steve Breston back at the 22. A dangerous returner brought down after a 2-yard return on a 43-yard punt. Michigan with its second possession of the ball game. Back in Ann Arbor right after this. Back at Ann Arbor, Michigan with the ball. First down and 10 from its own 26-yard line. Lloyd Carr says that as far as discipline goes, it has to be corrective. We'll explain that statement a little bit after this play. This is Perry stopped up right at the line of scrimmage by the safety, Jermaine Woodard. Let's go back to Reese in the studio. A lot of motion in that Memphis offense as well. Tough to be a defensive coordinator these days. And this is Perry out of the backfield, making the catch and stopped up immediately at the 24-yard line. Woodard making another stop. That Houston defense, Bob, playing well early.
I'm impressed right now with Houston's defense. They have 8 starters back from last year. They have some talent and they have some speed. Plus, Mark, they have the added advantage of Michigan hasn't had a chance to watch them on tape. Even though Houston played a game last week, it was against Rice, triple option offense. Virtually, Michigan could get nothing off that tape.
They at times had to go as far back as some Stephenville High School tape. Try and study this Houston team. And here's Navarre back to pass. Under pressure, got it away, incomplete. Hit the hands of Tim Massaquoi. But they're coming after John Navarre. It's 4th down and 10, another 3 and out for Michigan.
And one of the things about John Navarre, he is not real elusive. A scrambling quarterback right here, Mark, may have been able to avoid that, but you get number 45, Bryant Brown, the linebacker, coming on the blitz. Michigan in too many 3rd and longs here early in the football game. It's going according to the script right now for Art Browse.
Finley with his 2nd punt of the ball game, another high spiral. And they fielded on the run at the 35-yard line. A 39-yard punt, and Houston Cougars going to have some good field position for their 2nd drive of the ball game. Tonight, folks, at 7:15 Eastern. Huge bounce back year for Florida State. That is David Harris down in the field, meanwhile, for Michigan.
And I'll tell you, talk about bounce back. Greg Jones' run last week against North Carolina, when he just flat bulldogged that defensive player from Carolina, was one of the most impressive blows I've ever seen.
Those guys are feeling a little bit nasty down there in Tallahassee. Timeout on the field. We'll take one, too, and be back right after this. Back here at Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hey, that's the play that Houston ran a few minutes ago.
Art Browse,
football.
He may put that in right now. He may have someone over there watching that fraternity ball.
Zeros on the board. This is Houston's 2nd offensive possession of the ball game. A true freshman at quarterback, Kevin Cobb, out of Stephenville, Texas.
Everything they do is unorthodox, Mark. Here you see him in an unbalanced line with both tight ends over. They hand the football off.
Evans trips up after gaining about a yard. Let's go back to that injury to David Harris coming down on punt coverage.
And you're going to see right here that David Harris simply slips on this new field turf and rolls up what looks to be his ankle. Mark, both Wisconsin and Michigan have gone to this field turf, and you can see the little rubber particles jumping up off that turf. But hopefully David Harris will be okay and back in this football game.
Being tended to on the bench. 2nd down and 8 for the Cougars. A trips formation to the bottom of your screen.
And you see the trips at the boundary. They really, really flex those guys out wide, Mark.
Cobb keeps it himself and is brought down at the 41-yard line by Marlon Jackson, who's now in the ballgame. Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Hey guys, the big news in the offseason here at Michigan Stadium is the new field. This is Field's turf that was installed. It's a synthetic grass, and as you can see, it's got the recycled rubber. Now this rubber is recycled from tires donated by the Ford Motor Company. Cost about $600,000, and talking to the players, they love it. Chris Perry said he loved running on it. He didn't slip or have any problems that way, and they said that it's a lot more forgiving when they hit the ground hard.
That's good news for all the players. Cobb on the sprint out, completes the pass. Looks to be about a yard and a half short of the first down. Complete to Leonard Gibson. Big receiver, 6'1", 205, a redshirt freshman.
Mark, Art Browse does something I've never seen before. If you watch right here, the quarterback will start in motion before the ball snapped. So the quarterback takes the shotgun snap on the run, sprint out pass. I have never seen that done before in college football. You would think there'd be a high margin for error on something like that.
Come up a yard short, though, and it's another 3 and out. And timeout called by Houston. Actually, it's Michigan's timeout. Holly talking about the new turf a few moments ago. A little bit of a debate as to how much warmer, if at all, it gets down there on the field. We were on the field yesterday. It seemed to heat up a little bit while we were down there.
There's no question, Mark, and part of it, having played and coached on artificial surfaces, is just the reflection you get, the glare of the sun. But getting back to this Houston offense right now, you see why Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, had a tough week. preparing for this. In fact, what they did, they went back and got Stephenville High School tape. And Art Browse has not been the head coach at Stephenville for the last 4 years. He spent the last 3 seasons at Texas Tech. So Jim Herman went back. They called high schools around the area that Stephenville High School had played. Incidentally, Stephenville High School had beat because he won a bunch of games. He was the head coach at Stephenville, and those coaches sent him the tape. So Jim Herman has been exhausting all the resources he can to get ready for this football game.
For one game, huh? Well, 12 years at Stephenville High School for Art Browse, won 4 state titles, and interesting his approach to winning here. He says, we're not on a 5-year plan here at Houston. We're on a 5-minute plan. We got to win now. Steve Breston back, standing on his own 10-yard line for the Wolverines. The punt coming from McClary. His first punt went 43 yards. This is Curry back at the 20, returns it out to the 25-yard line. Lots of action in the Big Ten, and let's go back to Reese Davis telling us about the lead guy. All right, thanks a lot, Reese. This is Chris Perry on 1st down and 10, running over the left side of the line of scrimmage. Farouk Adelican making the tackle on the play. Talked about the Big Ten in action today. Ohio State hosting San Diego State. Michigan, Wisconsin looked very impressive last week, coming back against West Virginia.
And don't be surprised if the Minnesota Gophers don't start creeping into that top 25 mark. The Big Ten is a strong, balanced league again this year.
Carl Tabb and Breston and Edwards, the 3 receivers on this formation. 2nd down and 8 for the Wolverines. Unable to move the ball so far. Pass almost intercepted at the 45-yard line. Roland Cola had it hit him right in the hands. Wasn't expecting it. Intended for Carl Tabb.
Michigan loves Carl Tabb. They say he is the fastest wide receiver on this football team. John Navarre had him open on the slant, threw the ball behind him. But the problem right now, Mark, Michigan is out of sync because they cannot run the football.
Chris Perry went for over 200 yards, 232 last week on the ground against Central Michigan. 3rd down and 8. Michigan seemingly determined to pass the football. Navarre has to make a play himself, and he's brought down short of the 1st down at the 26-yard line by Bryant Brown, leading the charge for the Cougars. Another 3 and out for the Wolverines, their 3rd one of the afternoon.
John Navarre's an experienced quarterback, but here I think he locks on to Braylon Edwards from the beginning and just stares Braylon Edwards down. The problem, Houston dropped 8 into coverage, Mark, but an experienced quarterback trying to make a play, wanted to go to Braylon Edwards, had nowhere to go with the football. Once again, Houston's defense stepping up, 3 and out.
8:20 to go in the 1st quarter. Put a little pressure on Finley this time. A low line drive punt. Woodard will let it bounce, and it'll roll past the 30. Down to the 28. Houston Cougars will have possession 1st down and 10 after that 46-yard punt. Still hanging in when we come back. A few moments ago during the break, that's Harris being carted off the field for Michigan. David Harris injured on that punt return a few moments ago. 1st down and 10 meanwhile for the Cougars. Cobb out of the shotgun, backside pressure, steps up, and the freshman runs for a 1st down. The first one of the ball game out of the 41-yard line. A 13-yard pickup brought down by Reed.
You see what an athletic quarterback brings to the table. 95, Kashama is going to come from the backside. Looks like right here he has a dead shot on the quarterback. The Cobb steps up, breaks some tackles. And Houston right now, Mark, it's going exactly how Art Browse wanted it. They have a lot of momentum.
1st down and 10. Pass incomplete. Hit Travis Griffiths right in the basket. Let's go back to Reese in the studio.
They're up on Penn State.
Penn State bouncing back last year, looking to improve on that performance this year. 2nd down and 10. Cobb on the sprint out, flag down in the backfield. Cobb showing a little elusiveness, finally brought down to the 46 by Scott McClintock.
Mark, we're going to get holding right here. I believe they held number 90, Norman Ewer. And this one's going to come back. But again, you see the scramble ability of Cobb. Art Browse did not run him one time last week against Rice. I'm talking about any kind of options or anything, but he felt like he would have to move him a little bit and scramble him a little bit more today.
Lock in the back above the waist on the offense. 10-yard penalty, replay, second down.
You talk about Cobb being a true freshman quarterback. His aunt lives outside of Houston, and he moved down there in June so he could work in the offseason with the Houston receivers and backs, and it gave him a tremendous advantage. And the veteran Houston players were so impressed, Mark, when he came in, because he had total grasp of this offense that came from his high school.
Stephenville High School, and Bob, I'm going to get you to tell me a few stories about Stephenville before the show's over today. I know you worked a few living rooms down there, the closer and recruiting. Throws it up incomplete, a broken pattern that time seemingly. Harrison Arsenault was the closest receiver. Jacob Stewart applying the pressure.
And you see Michigan heating up and blitzing that empty no-back set. Shortly, you'll see what Art Briles' plan is for Michigan blitzing the empty, whether it's one of those jailbreak screens or some kind of little trick play to take advantage of man-to-man cover.
Briles to try and counter the Michigan defense. And coordinator Jim Herman, 3rd down and long. Another empty formation for the Cougars. 5 receivers out in the pattern. Pass is complete to Marshall. And he put the ball on the ground. It's loose. It's Michigan ball. Vincent Marshall made the reception, then coughed it up, and now there's a flag. Foul's going to be against Houston. Well, the first turnover of the game favors Michigan.
That's a 15-yard penalty, first down.
We get a chance to look at the turnover. Houston throws the screen. Right here, you're going to see Shazar, the safety, and Marlon Jackson comes in and knocks that football out. And number 58, Roy Manning, comes up with the recovery.
Michigan's offense.
Shazar, and you see Marlon Jackson, excuse me, Mark, coming in there and getting that football out of there.
And as a result, Michigan offensively working with a short field. Chris Perry between the tackles down to the 19-yard line. Bob, we were talking during the commercial. Why hasn't Michigan run the ball as much as you might have thought coming into this ball game?
Well, Mark, I think they will. You see them go back right there to their signature play, something we call gap blocking, where everybody blocks an area and you pull the backside guard. But Chris Perry, 232 yards last week, 1,000-yard rusher last year, Mark, so they can run the football. They're going to have to right here.
Give it to Perry again. Cuts back inside. Now to the 11-yard line, and it's a first down for the Wolverines. An 8-yard pickup for Chris Perry, trying to become the 7th Michigan back to rush for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons.
We talked about in the open, he's down about 10 pounds from last year, and I think even early here in this football game, you could notice a little more explosiveness out of him, a little more change of direction.
Fired up when we had a chance to meet with him yesterday. Edwards in motion. Perry again made one tackler miss, made another miss, making it down to the 5-yard line. He admits he is quote-unquote noisy, loud. Well, he's making some noise now with his play. Gully making the stop.
One of the problems Houston has on defense, Mark, they're undersized. The first thing you think of is let's slant, let's angle, let's move that front. But Michigan is a gap-blocking team that really, those slants and angles, they don't mean anything to Michigan's offensive line.
Side of the eye, an offset eye formation. Running it into the boundary with Perry. No signal and a flag down on the near side of the field. All the way down at the bottom of the field, as Perry was brought down just shy of the end zone. Braylon Edwards was squaring off with one of the DBs from Houston. Steve Payman, the referee with the white cap, a busy man so far.
After the play was over, personal foul on Houston. Personal foul on Michigan. Penalties offset. Result of the play is a first down.
It'll be first down and goal to go.
Michigan loves this offensive line, and who they really love is Big David Boss, this offensive tackle at 330 pounds, rocking around on the outside stretch play. You see Chris Perry, he will protect that football. He's carried the football a lot of times, and he knows there's no quicker way to get in Lloyd Carr's doghouse than to cough that thing up on the goal line.
Learned that last year against Utah. First down and goal. Perry time. Touchdown, Wolverines. Perry with his third rushing touchdown this season, the 24th of his career. And Michigan able to convert on the turnover from Houston on the fumble. Rivas adds the extra point. Let's go back to Reese Davis in the studio.
All right.
All right, thanks a lot, Reese. And Chris Perry with his 24th career touchdown, putting Michigan ahead 7-0. One more look at that nice run.
And Mark, we talk about gap blocking. You look right here. Everybody blocks down for Michigan. The fullback Dudley's going to kick out and create a crease for Chris Perry, and he takes it into the end zone. So gap blocking, everybody blocking down. Doesn't matter how much you twist, how much you move that front. You just take them where they want to go.
Chris Perry, good bloodlines. His father, Ray Perry, played college football at North Carolina A&T. It comes down to the 2-yard line. Still on his feet. Sean Pope with a nice return of 27 yards. And Art Browse's team still trying to get on the scoreboard, trailing 7-0.
I think what you're going to find out now, Mark, is how does Houston play as we look at Art Browse, a wide receiver at Houston, 74-76. How does Houston play now that something bad has happened? The Rice game last week, it was 31-7 at the half. They were up. Everything went exactly how they wanted it to go. Now they got to fight back and overcome some adversity right now.
Being led by a true freshman at quarterback, Kevin Cobb. They tried running that play earlier. This time it worked. And Shazer put a hit on Chad McCullough, who was fortunate to hang on to the ball.
Ernest Shazer, 6'4" safety, physical, and right there, Houston very fortunate that Chad McCullough did not cough that football up. Mark, that's how you draw him up right there. He looks like a strong safety supposed to look.
Second down and 5. Run it to the other side, complete. First down, catch made by McCullough. Houston with a little dink and dunk on offense. First down.
And something Houston does, they give you so many formations. You can see right here that Michigan did not align properly. They left McCullough uncovered. They raise up and throw the hot out there. Excellent communication between the quarterback and the wide receiver.
First down and 10 near midfield at the 46. Cobb brought down behind the line of scrimmage. And number 94, Pat Massey. Loss of about a yard or 2 on the play.
You see Michigan. The thing I like about Michigan's football team, Mark, they've got a great combination of older, experienced players and then young, talented players, particularly at linebacker and on the defensive line. So they have a nice mixture as you see young Pat Massey step up and make that play.
If there are any question marks about Michigan this year, it might be their depth defensively. Cobb back to pass. Complete to Marshall, who's pushed out of bounds right near the line of scrimmage. Actually might have lost a yard back at the 42. They keep throwing those underneath passes and out of the backfield in the flat, trying to set something up maybe, Bob? Down
well, it reminds me a lot of back in the late 80s, Jack Pardee and John Jenkins at Houston running that run and shoot, spreading the field and then throwing the jailbreak screens. They have that kind of speed at wide receiver, Mark. If they get a crease, they can take it to the house on you.
Third down and 14 to go. Gibson in motion towards the top of your screen. Cobb almost intercepted at the 43 by Shazer. Shazer around the ball a lot this afternoon. It'll be 4th down. The Cougars will punt.
Mark, everybody in college football trying to steal a little bit of what Tampa Bay does on defense. And that time, Michigan in the cover 2, running that middle linebacker deep in the middle of the field, just like Tampa Bay.
Clary with another punt. His 3rd of the day. Preston fields it back at the 17. Preston out to the 27-yard line. A 10-yard return after that 41-yard punt.
You made some statements early in the season, and I didn't write them down, and there was no way to confirm some of those things. So I'm writing that one down.
Rich Gannon, the quarterback. Oakland Raiders hoping to atone for that Super Bowl disaster last year. Here's Perry. Got a 1st down. Got a nice block from Kevin Dudley.
A little bit of a new play for Michigan this year. Once again, pulling David Boss, getting a wide stretch play and just handing the ball to Chris Perry. A little bit different scheme, trying to get the football out on the perimeter. Dudley, the fullback, nice block.
Well, Michigan now getting back to their running game. And somewhere here in Ann Arbor, Coach Schenbeck were probably glad about that.
I tried to tell you, don't get nervous. You were nervous early in this football game now about that rushing game.
As Michigan knows who and what they are. Edwards in motion. Out in the flat, nice catch by Perry at the 42. Reese, what's going on with Penn State and not so happy Valley?
Brave hat.
Oh yeah, he's smiling, I guess, and he's confident. David Underwood now in a tailback. Gets the handoff. A huge gaping hole between the tackles and a 1st down on Houston's side of midfield at the 45-yard line. David Underwood ready to make a contribution this year. Picked up 14.
Terry Malone told us yesterday, Michigan wants to run more out of the 1-back set. Here they come with the lead draw. Excellent block by Pearson, the center, but they did not run the football very well with 1 back in the backfield last year. They want to do more of it. They like this young David Underwood. 20 minutes from Texas A&M's campus, Madisonville, Texas, comes to Michigan.
Playing against some guys that he knows from back in high school. 1st down and 10. Wolverines Navarre going up top for Edwards. Incomplete at the 10-yard line. A tough catch. Well, Braylon Edwards trying to make his way out of Coach Lloyd Carr's doghouse. And Carr had an interesting direct message for Edwards through the media. He said that, you know, Braylon and I aren't on the same page, and Braylon basically needs to get on the same page that I am.
Well, I don't think people should read too much into this. Lloyd Carr and his staff loves Braylon Edwards. They love his work ethic, the way he practices. He just needs to mature. And Mark, when you wear number 1, you're judged by a different set of standards here. So they're not judging him just as another Michigan wide receiver.
Here's Perry. Out of the backfield, stopped up after a gain of about 1. Brian Brown making the stop. And last year, Braylon Edwards wore number 80. And after their bowl victory against Florida, he went to head coach Lloyd Carr and said, Coach, what do you feel about me wearing number 1? I'd like to switch my number. And you would assume that he knows the responsibility that goes along with that. And Coach Carr gave it his stamp of approval.
Well, timing's everything. Lloyd was in a great mood right after
got him in a weak moment, huh?
win. Oh, yeah, I mean, the timing was perfect. So he's an intelligent young man.
Number 1, like the likes of Anthony Carter before him and others. 3rd down and long, 8 to go. Tipped at the line of scrimmage, and that's something we've seen happen throughout Navarre's career. A flag down, meanwhile, downfield at the 23-yard line.
Mark, they're going to wave that flag off, but one of the things, even though...
Disregard the flag. There was no foul on the play. The pass was tipped at the line of scrimmage.
Even though John Navarre is 6'6", a lot of balls batted at the line of scrimmage. First of all, he is not in the shotgun. Michigan, different than probably 99% of the teams in the country, Mark. They always come from under center. John Navarre does not like the shotgun. A lot of balls batted. We noticed watching the tape, he had 2 batted last week against Central Michigan. First one batted today.
Wolverines to punt. Fourth punt of the day for Adam Finley. Low line drive spiral headed for the Coffin corner, and this one's going to be, oh no, not quite, almost down at the 1-yard line. Carl Tabb trying to get it done and couldn't. Let's go back to Reese for a Wake Forest update.
Wins up by 4.
That makes me a little more nervous, Mark, saying that, because he knows I was a defensive coach. It looked like a big completion down the middle of the field to me. I looked at it from the defensive perspective.
Did he mean the defense? You drew it up like that
well,
on defense?
I'm going to take it like he meant I was the offensive coach on that.
5-yard penalty. It's still first down.
We'll take the liberty of doing that. Approaching 1 minute to go here in the first quarter of play. Michigan leading 7-0. Mark Browse's team coming in here 1-0 after winning last week at home against Rice. First down and 15 from their own 10-yard line.
And Mark, talk about that legal pad Art Browse had yesterday with all those plays on it. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Lots of scribbles on that notepad. Cobb under heat. Got it away. Incomplete. But that front led by Pierre Woods, bringing the pressure.
And Pierre Woods, if you remember last year, number 6, Victor Hobson was this guy. Now they're using Pierre Woods as the linebacker up, giving him a bunch of different looks. They love that athleticism of Pierre Woods. Mark, he tore a fingernail. You see the cast on his left hand. Tore his fingernail completely off one day in practice this week. They were worried if he was going to be able to play today.
Second down and 15. Cobb on the move again. Steps out of bounds and threw it away for good measure about the 13-yard line. It'll be third down and long for Houston.
These fans booing, but the new rule in NCAA football starting a couple years ago, if you're outside that tackle box, you can throw the football away. The only point is that ball has to be thrown beyond the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure if that ball was thrown behind the line of scrimmage right there.
Look at the pressure situation on Cobb. 4 hurries by that Michigan front. Last week, defensively, Michigan not happy with their effort, especially rush defense against Central Michigan. Third down and 17. It's a safety. Larry Stevens. Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, loves it.
Mark, I don't know if Stephenville High School, if they played this many different fronts on them, but right there, Houston turned to defensive end. Larry Stevens, loose, easy safety right there from Michigan.
Larry Stevens last year, arguably one of the best defensive linemen on that Michigan front. Was not a starter, but never complained about his status. Last week graded out very well against Central Michigan. They get the safety as a result, leading 9-0 now. Stevens out of Tacoma, Washington.
Michigan, 2 talented, athletic defensive ends in Kashama and Larry Stevens. Larry Stevens was a high school running back. And you see him right here. It's going to be the screen pass, but you can't just let Larry Stevens get up the field into the quarterback's face. So you have both defensive ends virtually coming unblocked. Michigan with the safety.
Michigan defensively last year, one of the tops in the Big Ten Conference, leading the conference in sacks.
Mark, they always have been one of the leading sack teams. Jim Herman does a great job with multiple fronts, different looks.
Hey, what do you think that freshman quarterback is thinking now? Let's go down to Holly Rowe.
Hey guys, well, let's put this in perspective. Kevin Cobb did not join the team for spring football practice because he was still in high school. This is a big challenge for him. But after taking that safety in the end zone, he came over to the sideline and talked to his players to find out what went wrong. He's trying to keep his composure by just focusing on the X's and O's right now. He's not feeling sorry for himself. He just talked to his wide receivers and his line to figure out what the breakdowns were and try to get his head back in this football game. Guys?
All right, Holly, you know, I spoke with him yesterday at the walkthrough. Said, have you ever played in front of this many people? He said, oh, obviously not, but I did play in the state high school final back in Texas against Port Neches Grove. There were about 30,000 people at the Astrodome for that game.
Well, there's no question that's big-time high school football, but the thing we wanted to see coming in here, How would it be for Art Browse and these Houston Cougars when it got hard, when some things went against them? Last week against Rice, 31-7 at the half. It was too easy. Now you're going to see if this young quarterback and this young offensive team can hang in there and fight beyond this adversity, Mark.
All right, let's go back to Reese in the studio. All right, Reese and Bob, you know, the axiom says that everybody has their price. Well, I guess the price for San Diego State was a reported $2.7 million that they took in a guarantee to move that game from San Diego State to Ohio State. Worth it?
Mark, that's a bunch of shoulder pads. You can buy a bunch of shoulder pads and helmets with that. To give you an example, if that's correct, Houston received, I believe, $500,000 coming here to Michigan. So when you start talking about $2.some million to move a game, I can see why they moved it.
Build a new wing on the library for that kind of dough. LeSueur kept it on the fake reverse. Jeremy LeSueur into Houston territory at the 39-yard line.
Mark, to give you an idea, excellent return by Jeremy LeSueur. To give you an idea of the difference, coaching in Michigan, you see that entire football team and coaching staff getting off that bus, not many smiles. Then you look at Art Browse getting off that bus. They're dressed just a little bit different. But Art Browse coming in here today, it's fun for him. He's only coached one game in college football. He won it last week, a big win over crosstown rival Rice. A lot more pressure, a lot more expectations coaching at Michigan. And Lloyd Carr's been through it many, many times on that sideline.
First down and 10 for the Wolverines on Houston's side of midfield. Chris Perry stopped up in the backfield at the 42 by Bryant Brown, who played in all 11 games as a true freshman. And Mark, sat out last year.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but go back to the turnover. Houston with great momentum early in this football game, and then number 17, Vincent Marshall, coughed it up on the screen pass, and now momentum has swung drastically to the side of Michigan.
Well, Holly talked about it at the top of the show. Michigan did not want to look by Houston as an opponent because of the fact that they have Notre Dame coming up here at home next week. Came out with a bit of intensity to start this one off. Navarre setting up the screen to Perry, and he's got a blocker out in front of him. Chris Perry got the first down at the 29-yard line. A well-executed screen pass by the Wolverines offense.
Michigan, always a great screen team, always a great reverse team, Mark.
Timeout on the field. Chris Perry and the Wolverine offense marching down towards Houston's goal line when we come back. Battling down on a not-so-natural grass field anymore. 9-0, the Wolverines in the lead as we begin the second quarter of play. First down and 10 on Houston's 28. Navarre on the quick hitter. Incomplete. And out of bounds, intended for Steve Breston. Let's take a look at our ESPN game track. And one of the storylines coming in was how would Marlon Jackson react after not playing last week. Back in earnest, Chris Perry with the first rushing touchdown of the ball game for Michigan. Then the safety, Larry Stevens, the rush off the end, and that's where we stand right now, 9-0. Perry's touchdown coming off a fumble by Houston. Underwood in a tailback for Perry right now on second down and 10. Underwood stopped up to the line of scrimmage by Bryant Brown, and back to Reese in the studio.
North Carolina.
And next week, Bob, Wake Forest taking on Purdue. That should be an interesting okay.
No question. And Michigan again in a 3rd and long, and you have to be impressed with Houston's young defense here, the way they've played and hung in there.
Get up to about the 18. Navarre hit hard, and it's ruled incomplete. Courtney Brooks lit him up. Brooks, the converted strong safety, with a big play for the Cougar defense right when they needed one.
You don't see this very often where Michigan just gives up a sack. But Houston coming from with two rushers from the outside on one blocker. Courtney Brooks hits him right in the chops. Fortunately, that was not an interception right there, Mark. The arm is going forward. And here is what everybody in this stadium is holding their breath to see. Michigan trying to convert a field goal.
Well, Lloyd Carr eschewing Adam Finley, electing to use Eric Rivas this time on a 43-yard attempt. And he can only hope that he has found his man. Rivas is good. Barely making it. Last week, Finley was just 1 of 3. Rivas gives Michigan a 12-0 lead. Back to Ann Arbor right after this. Michigan leading 12-0 as we are underway here in the second quarter of play. And whenever you have championship hopes and aspirations like the Wolverines do, sometimes the close games come down to the kicking game. And last season, they were just 12 of 24 on field goals. This kick deep into the end zone. And the Cougars will start off on their own 20-yard line. Bob, what about that, though? Do you have all your kickers on scholarship? Do you get a guy, try him out, then put him on a full ride? How do you approach things like that?
Well, they are that critical. If you look at the studies of college football, there's more parity now in college football than ever before. There's a lot of close games, more close games now, Mark, than ever in the history of college football. It's going to come down to the kicker. So I give those scholarships to kickers. Michigan example, they went and got Garrett Rivas, number 38, a true freshman. Dad played in the NFL. Finley, they'd love him to be just the punter. So it's all on the table for Garrett Rivas, and he responded and hit the field goal.
Well, Finley started helping out with the place kicking duties midway through last year. The pass complete by Cobb for the first down, and then some. The Cougars getting a big play on offense into Michigan territory at the 44-yard line. A nice run by Vincent Marshall, who atones for that earlier fumble.
You see the speed of Vincent Marshall. They said he had a bit of a hamstring coming into today's game, Mark. You couldn't tell it right there. I mean, Vincent Marshall gets an excellent block out there, and watch the speed as he goes down the sidelines. Vincent Marshall held the state record in the triple jump. He's an athlete, and he can run.
First down and 10. Longest play of the ball game for Houston. Cobb under pressure, and he's sacked by Stevens back at the 44-yard line. Larry Stevens with his second sack of the ball game. We're here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan hosting Houston out of Conference USA. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey, Holly Rowe down in the field. Both teams coming into this ball game at 1-0. And Michigan right now pitching a shutout, 12-0. Second down and long for the Cougars, who have had a tough day offensively. That first Michigan touchdown set up by
Mark, this is
Marshall
really
Bumper.
different. This is a big offensive tackle, number 77, lined up out here.
Pass incomplete. Should have been caught by Travis Griffin. That's the third time that they've run that play.
Mark, this is really different. If we go back and look at this formation, this is truly an unbalanced formation where Michigan lines up right here. Big offensive tackle. The tight end lined up as the second guy from the center, and they go ahead and throw the football to him up the seam. So you're seeing some bizarre looks from Houston, but you better block and you better protect the quarterback.
Third down and 22. Cobb eludes trouble. Incomplete. Through the arms of Brandon Middleton.
Mark, I've watched a lot of football. This is literally, truly backyard football. You are seeing a conglomeration of every kind of offense there is in football right now.
We talked about it. Yeah, it's a little bit of veer, a little bit of option, a little bit of spread. Real mongrel type of offense.
But at some point, you better pass protect.
That's Preston standing on his own 15-yard line. McClary punting from his own 30. A low line drive. This should be returnable. Preston makes people hold their collective breath when he has the ball. And that's why a nice burst up the middle out to the 33-yard line. Timeout down in the field. Steve Preston ready to turn it loose along with his teammates when we come back. Well, the real game breaker and playmaker that Michigan perceives to have in their offense is Braylon Edwards. So far in the ballgame, he does not have a reception. Interesting that a couple of years ago, Edwards considered leaving. Got a little homesick, wasn't sure that Michigan was the place for him, but his father, Stanley, for one, talked him out of it. And Stanley is supposed to be in attendance here today. Edwards feeling the wrath of head coach Lloyd Carr with respect to some disciplinary issues, but Carr telling us he doesn't expect any more problems from his star wide receiver in the future. First down and 10. Barr looking Edwards' way, goes down the middle of the field, complete to the tight end Massacre. First down Wolverines at the 23.
see it every week, whether it's pro football or college football. Houston in a two-deep zone, two safeties, play action, and the tight end Massaquoi is going to go right down the middle of the field and split those two safeties. They love Tim Massaquoi, a wide receiver in high school, trying to replace Benny Joppru. This looks like a wide receiver right here, Mark.
Showing a good set of hands. A 45-yard pickup, first down and 10. Edwards in the slot on this formation. Barr looks the other way into the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Chris Perry. Reese, the Cornhuskers trying to bounce back.
Single.
Frank Solich replacing some of his coaches out there, trying to turn the beat around a little bit. This is Perry turning the beat around for Michigan. Still on his feet, first and goal. And a flag down, Perry brought down at the 7-yard line. Determined, unflappable running by Chris Perry, picking up 15 yards. They're going to bring this one back, it looks like. A clip against the Wolverines.
Mark, Chris Perry, to me, looks much quicker than he looked a year ago. Lost 10 pounds.
On the offense, 15-yard penalty, replay, second down.
And I promise you, he loves this field turf because he made a cut up in that hole. He just broke the defensive player from Houston down in the hole.
The ball back to the 26-yard line.
Perry really put together. Had a chance to visit with him yesterday, and he's one for certain that's not afraid to get into his teammates' collective grills in the locker room when it's time for a little fire and brimstone. Second down and 14. Navarre with a different type of leadership quality. Navarre excited about this team being his team. No doubt that it's his huddle this year when he sticks his head in there. Timeout on the field called by the Wolverines. We'll be back right after this. Michigan Wolverines just on the edge of the red zone. And last year their red zone offense a cause for concern. Just 59% scoring once they're in there. Second down and 14 after the clip. They run the screen back to the short side of the field. Chris Perry brought down nicely at the 23-yard line. Let's go back to the last play in that run that was negated.
Mark, a couple things. First of all, you see the difficulties that Houston has. We talked about if you slant the line, what happens. Watch Adam Stenovich right here when the defensive end slants inside. He just takes him clear out of the stadium. Now watch Chris Perry with the nice run, and then late you're going to see the clip right there. I don't think the receiver from Michigan got the head in front. But when you move that front sideways against a gap-blocking team like Michigan, you create craters up there on that defensive line.
Right now they're looking at a 3rd down and 9. They haven't converted on 3rd down so far this afternoon. Navarre going to pass off the hands of Edwards. Braylon Edwards went high for it. It was off his hands, and last week he had a drop. Last year he had at times problems with drops as well.
You can see why they love Chris Perry. Watch him pass block right here. Boom, hits him right in the chest. Now Navarre with the square in route. Tough catch. But we're number 1 at Michigan, Mark. We've seen number 1s make that catch before here.
Gutierrez will hold.
And in comes the field goal unit. Edwards will be thinking about that one just a little bit. No doubt his dad Stanley will talk to him about that as well. From 38 yards out, Rivas is 2 for 2. Let's go back to Reese in the studio. Wake Forest putting one on him.
And you talk about great coaching jobs.
Yeah.
Jim Grove has done a tremendous coaching job at Wake Forest. An unorthodox style offense, but they line up and run the football out of that unorthodox style offense. 3-3-5 defense, a little bit different. It's done a good job. And if you...
I read Football 101 this week on ESPN Insider, Bob Davey, breaking it down like it's never been broken before. The 3-3-5 defense, which is kind of the big trend right now in college football. I was really interested in what you had to say about the safety play in that scheme, Bob. You're taking us all to school, baby. Houston going to have to start off on its own 20-yard line, and Michigan's kicking game showing signs of life under Rivas.
You know they have great athletes at Michigan. Their return game, their coverage game is sound. The one missing piece, Mark, has been that kicker. Garrett Rivas says, you know what? This is easy. It's like being at Tampa Jesuit High School. Just kick it between that post. What Art Browse tell us yesterday? 3rd and 4 is 3rd and 4. Doesn't matter if you're in Michigan Stadium or in Stephenville High School.
All the same right now, his offense, though, got to get cooking a little bit, get with the program.
Substitution infraction on the offense. They broke the huddle from the sideline with 12 men. 5-yard penalty. It's still first down.
You can't sleep on official Steve Payman. He was watching him that time and caught them.
I'll tell you this, the Big Ten officials, they took a little bit of heat last year because there were some close calls that impacted games. Gets back to our point that there's more close games now in college football than ever before. But Dave Perry, who's the head of the Big Ten officials, does probably as good a job as there is in the country, Mark.
That's 5 penalties now against the Cougars. First down and 15. Cobb put it on the ground, got it back at the 15-yard line. For more on the kicking game, let's go down to Holly.
Hey, guys. Well, Garrett Rivas, the true freshman, is getting some great experience here today. 2 career field goals in his first attempt. But the thing that the coaches and the players love about him, they say he's a football player. There is no greater compliment for a kicker than that. He's got a short, stocky body, a really strong, they call it a live leg. And the guys like him because he cares about what's happening on the field. He's a football player, heart and soul.
Did a lot of work with the Grammaticals down there in the Tampa area with kicking camps. Cobb downfield, almost picked off by Shazer. Rolling into harm's way. It'll be 3rd down and long for the Cougars offense. They have yet to get untracked.
Michigan's defensive line right now is digging in and flat licking their chops, Mark. There's nobody in that backfield. There's no maximum protection scheme. Look for a screen or a quarterback draw right here.
Jim Herman, you got to look at him, the defensive coordinator for Michigan, up in the box a few moments ago. But I'd be happy with his defense. Houston 0 for 6 on 3rd downs today. This pass complete. Up at the 27-yard line to Middleton, short of the first down, though, by about 3 yards. And they'll send in the punting unit once again.
And Middleton comes into this football game top yards per catch man in school history. Last week, Mark, 4 catches for 122 yards, averaged over 30 yards a catch. No doubt he has speed.
McClarion to punt, standing on his own 13. And Houston, who scored over 40 points last week, this one almost blocked. Having a hard time getting on the scoreboard here. Preston fielded like a shortstop. And is tackled at the 39-yard line. A flag down on the play. Steve Payman getting a lot of face time on camera time today. Procedure against the Cougars. Well, big time and prime time tonight on ESPN and ESPN between them.
Is that a new logo for Alabama?
Looks a little different to me.
It's like the Oakland Athletics, doesn't it, when you first look at it?
What happened to the old elephant? I liked him. 1st and 10. Perry. Nice gain out to the 47-yard line. Stenovich giving him a nice block.
And Houston's defense, they've hung in here. Michigan with only 131 yards offense. They've been hampered by the 2 Houston offensive mistakes, the big turnovers. They've hung tough, but you get the feeling right now that Michigan's going to crack their will a little bit, Mark.
2nd down and 3. Michigan with just 1 offensive touchdown. That one coming off of the Marshall fumble. That's lining up in the offset eye. Underwood now the deep back. Navarre looking up top to Edwards. Incomplete, and no flag on the play. Stanford roused back there on defense for the Cougars in the secondary.
Houston shows blitz. John Navarre checks to the slant, the deep post route, and Stanford route. It looks like he grabbed him, Mark, right there. Got a little piece of him, but you'd like to see Braylon Edwards go up with both hands right there and maybe make a play on that football.
Well, a smattering of boos coming out and raining down on Michigan after that last play. Neither team converting on third down today. Michigan looking at 3rd and 3.
I think it may have been raining on that back judge who didn't pull that flag out of his pocket.
They run it into the boundary. Perry's got a seam and is chopped down at the 48-yard line, but he got the first down. And let's go down to Hawley. Hawley, everyone loves you when you're winning, huh?
Oh, you don't even know the half of it. Chris Perry told us that after his 232-yard performance last Saturday, he was the big man on campus. He says, me and Marlon Jackson have a little saying for it. We call it the vapors. It's after a rap song that people start sniffing you a little bit. They know you're around because you're the big man on campus. He said he doesn't mind, though, if girls get the vapors. So all the girls out there, it's okay. He says he talked to some guys on campus that he hadn't talked to for over a semester and a half after being the big guy last week.
Funny how everyone wants to open your door and buy you lunch. Underwood in for Perry on this run down to the 43-yard line. Yeah, the spoils of victory can be intoxicating and narcotizing for some people, but this Michigan team seemingly very level-headed, Bob, because of all the key leaders they have who are seniors too.
Well, just so much invested in this football team. And I talked to Lloyd Carr yesterday in our conversation about how long it takes to get it build up to this point where you have the kind of depth, you have the kind of experience, the kind of balance they have. Michigan, I think, a legitimate shot to be in the Nokia Sugar Bowl this year, Mark.
There's Underwood again, got a nice block from the lead back. Got the first down at the 36-yard line. Kevin Dudley on the ISO. First down, Wolverines.
Modern-day fullbacks in the I formation. They have to be content to play their role. You're going to watch Dudley right here on the ISO. Great pad level of getting down underneath the pad level of the linebacker from Houston. That's old-time football right there. David Underwood playing against some of his local guys from Texas.
First down and 10. They line up out of the I once again. Perry back in the ball game, the deep pass. Off the play fake. Boy, John Navarre and Braylon Edwards aren't quite on the same frequency this afternoon.
Mark, it looks to me he's throwing the football high. He's had several throws that have been flat just high.
Sets up a second down and 10. Sailed on him again here.
Michigan with a lot of talented wide receivers. Jason Avon, one of their young talented players, number 8, not playing today because of an injury in practice. But they have as much depth at wide receiver as any team in the country, Mark.
Second down and 10. Perry. Chewing up yards on the ground. Chris Perry with a determined effort down to the 15. Moving the pile after the tackler came up on him. 22-yard pickup.
Michigan again running out of the one back set. You see the tight end, 88 Massaquoi. May have got a little jersey there, but a good effort. Chris Perry breaking it outside. Mark, watch him again. I think he has more shake than he had last year. I really do. Losing that 10 pounds has helped him.
Yeah, he looked pretty tight and shredded when we saw him. First and 10. Perry time again. Chris Perry spinning down to the 9-yard line. Chris says that we asked him to describe himself, and he said, well, I'm loud. It was pretty simple. He said, I'm loud. I'm not afraid to say something to my teammates if I think they're jaking it or dogging it, and not afraid to be hard on himself. He might be his own worst critic.
Well, I'll tell you what. Lloyd told us yesterday what a finely conditioned athlete. He looks like he's sucking air a little bit, but talk about sucking air. That Houston defense right now starting to cave in again against this big Michigan offensive line.
Second down and 4. Perry stopped up behind the line of scrimmage by Joe Clay up front.
Houston with both defensive ends back as starters, both defensive tackles. Dana DeMel did a good job of recruiting at Houston. They've got a lot of talented football players on this football team.
Well, at the University of Houston, it's a time of urgency for them. They, like Tulane, at one point kind of considered discontinuing the program. But they brought in one of their own, Art Briles right there, to revive the situation. This is the 10th play of the Wolverine drive. Third down and 6. Houston coming with a little pressure, flag down. Navarre high once again for Braylon Edwards.
And, Mark, you see John Navarre burning his eyes on Braylon Edwards, going to that #1 outlet, not looking at any other receiver. But I think we're going to have an offsides penalty on Houston.
5-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
One of the biggest improvements that Navarre made last year was in his progressions, being able to go off of that first receiver, then the second, and actually go through it all the way to the 3rd receiver.
But Mark, he hit 8 different receivers in the first half against Central Michigan. 8 different receivers. That tells you 2 things. Michigan has some balance in the receiving core, but also, like you said, he goes to that check down receiver. He looks to be forcing the football right now, and the football sailing on him a little bit.
After the penalty, it's 3rd down and 1. They give it to Perry. It's going to be close. Don't think that he got there. Stopped up shy of the 5-yard line, trying that left side, running over Matt Lentz and Tony Pate.
Something you don't see. Michigan turns one loose up front. Right here, you see the yellow line. Looked like he broke the plane of that yellow line on that shot. Mark, why don't you go out on a limb right here? Did he make it?
I'll say yes.
You don't sound real convincing like that.
Wow, close. They gonna give it to him? They got it. Told you.
Now, don't say that they're going to give it to him. He made it. They're not going to give him anything. The yellow line does not lie, Mark.
1st down and goal for the Wolverines. Pitching a shutout so far, 15-0. David Underwood in the ball game now for Perry.
And the offside penalty against Houston. Houston's been on the field now 10 straight plays defensively. They're hanging by a thread right now.
Edwards in motion. Underwood gets the call. Touchdown, Michigan. Old time, old school, old-fashioned Michigan football. Well, it didn't take long for Michigan to look themselves in the mirror and figure out who and what exactly they are. Power running game coming alive. Right now they lead 22-0. The 3rd career touchdown for David Underwood from deep in the heart of Texas. Put one on some of his former counterparts from high school. We'll be back. Michigan pitching a shutout 22-0 with 4:16 to go in the first half. Underwood capping that 61-yard drive, using up a little over 5 minutes on the clock. They ran the ball the majority of the time and ran it well. Underwood and Perry doing the honors. Ingberg with the kickoff, a yard deep. Justin Laird trying to get to the edge and run out of bounds near the 20-yard line by Carl Tabb, who had contained. So far, it has been an inauspicious beginning for Cobb, and let's go back to Reese in the studio.
And maybe we should think Wake Purdue.
Reese, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Mark, we talk about history of Houston football. Bill Yeoman, really the pioneer of the veer offense in the mid-60s. And then Jack Pardee, John Jenkins, pioneer of the run and shoot in the late 80s. 2 definitive, distinct offensive styles created at the University of Houston.
2nd down and 10. They could use a little bit of offense right now. The pass incomplete. And we are here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. A benevolent sky spattering down on the field as Houston trails number 7 Michigan 22-0. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Holly Rowe. One of the big storylines of this ball game, the Michigan front scrutinized but responding to the challenge, putting heat on true freshman quarterback from Houston, Kevin Cobb.
Well, Houston's so dependent on those little screen passes, Mark. If you can take those screens away, you take away a high percentage of their offense.
Bob stepping up and brought down again at the 17-yard line. Jeremy Van Alstyne.
They love Jeremy Van Alstyne. Young man was a linebacker in high school. They say his motor runs constantly. And Mark, it's a feeding frenzy right now for this Michigan defense.
Well, they talk about a national championship here in Ann Arbor, and it's some of those second-line guys like Van Alstyne and Watson and Harrison, Woodley and Massey. They're going to have to provide some of the depth. On the return, Breaston. Steve Breaston coming alive. Still on his feet. Touchdown, but there's a flag on the play at the 40-yard line.
This one's going to come back, but you see why they love Steve Breaston. Was a quarterback in high school, and he can flat fly.
A brilliant, sparkling run by the redshirt freshman.
During the return, there was an illegal block in the back above the waist. There's no score on the play. 10 yards from the spot to foul.
We're going to see the penalty right here. Michigan double teaming the gunner right there. I think they call number 29 Hall. You see the block in the back from behind. But Breaston, you gotta love this, Mark. He reminds me of number 1 Anthony Carter a little bit.
With those long limbs and eating up real estate with every stride. They said that he put on 15 pounds, Bob, during the offseason, but he still has to run around in the shower to get wet. He's still skinny.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he put it. But he's disappointed right now. He's going to get some more chances. And you know what? Michigan fans and coaches don't get excited very often about potential. But on this one, he must be the real deal because they're all excited about him.
Lloyd Carr said, hey, I just got to find a way to get his hands on the football. First down and 10 after the penalty. Navarre finally to Edwards. Hooking up at the 43-yard line. Braylon Edwards with his first reception of the ball game. And been a long but short afternoon at the same time for him.
And you see the strength of John Navarre's arm throwing this football from the hash clear to the numbers. The deep comeback route. He gets the football down. Good tackle right there. But you see the arm strength of John Navarre.
He has really set the new standard for toughness for quarterbacks at Michigan.
Mentally and physically.
Undergone a lot of criticism for their lack of production in years past. Backside pressure, gets it off in time. Hooking up with Edwards again. Braylon Edwards with another first down out to the 42-yard line, brought down by Stanford Routt. Well, tune in and spanking them, Bob, last week.
That's big time impressive now with all the hype, all the talent at Auburn, USA going down there and winning.
First down and 10. Play fake, Navarre going upstairs for Edwards. Broken pattern, and it's incomplete. And Risa, tell us what's going on at halftime in the studio.
For High Life halftime report, we'll talk about how home field in the Big Ten does, guys.
All right, Reese, and John Navarre moving in on yet another Michigan quarterbacking record. He's already rewritten the record book at this school. This pass incomplete at the 40-yard line. It appeared to be, once again, Bob, tipped at the line of scrimmage. Tyrese Butler, number 9, the intended receiver. But Stanford Routt closing quickly.
Mark, and you get the feeling on this drive that Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, and Lloyd Carr really want, they know they can run the football. Almost like they wanted to come out and just work on the things they've not been successful on. You see Terry Malone standing right here. Done a great job with this offensive football team, but you feel they've established the run. Now they kind of want to work on that passing game, particularly getting Braylon Edwards and John Navarre in sync.
Got a big one coming up next week. 3rd down and 10. Perry on the draw. Got back to the line of scrimmage at the 42. Courtney Brooks, converted strong safety for Houston, making the stop.
And Mark, you got to love it. We're at Michigan Stadium. It's 22-0, but there were a few boos right there on that 3rd down drop, on that draw call.
They expect big things out of this team. And last week, although they really destroyed Central Michigan, they weren't happy with their run defense. Always finding something to be unhappy about. Of course, wouldn't be Michigan if it weren't like that.
Well, there's high expectations, and there's so many weapons on this football team. that you're disappointed when they don't just explode.
They are first all-time in Division I wins, 11 national titles, 124 years of football here at Ann Arbor, and right now putting one on the University of Houston. We'll be back with more right after this. We are back here in Ann Arbor, 4th down and 9. Michigan Wolverines leading 22-0. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, Holly Rowe down in the field, and Lloyd Carr, a very understated type of guy, very well-read, a voracious reader, and amassing a lot of knowledge about his football team in the first half of play right here. And the results seem to be pretty good. Jermaine Woodard back for Houston, meanwhile, standing on his own 10-yard line. Finley from his own 47. We'll look for the corner. And to see where this one is down, it's going to be down about 6 inches shy of the end zone. Great job on special teams by Michigan. Ross Mann.
Mark, there's an interesting rule in college football. Right here, his foot is inside the end line, but in fact, you can have your feet in the end zone, and as long as that ball has not crossed the path or the plane of that goal line, you can knock it back into play. But just a tremendous job right there of keeping that football in play. Finley loves it. Those punters love those stats, Mark. Nailing that ball inside the goal line.
I think I got to keep my numbers up. Let's go downstairs to Holly.
Hey guys, a big initiative of the Big Ten this year is crowd control. One of the top issues, marshmallows at Michigan. The students are famous for throwing marshmallows on the field. But this year, Lloyd Carr made a public service announcement saying, please don't throw marshmallows on our brand new field. Because the field is synthetic and it gets hot, the marshmallows will melt and stick up the surface. So far, so good, guys. I haven't seen a marshmallow yet today.
Hey, Holly, if they want to throw some burgers up to us at halftime, it's all good.
I'll see what we can do.
Okay, first down and 10.
And I'll tell you what, getting back to that marshmallow, you notice Lloyd was a little embarrassed yesterday about having to make that public announcement about the marshmallow. He would have, I'm not letting any secret out, he would rather have not had to make that a public announcement.
But Bob, when you're a head coach, man, how many things do you have to worry about? That's that's borderline ridiculous.
There's always a flip side to it. So he makes the public announcement about not throwing the marshmallows. Then he gets letters from the student body in Michigan complaining about they can't have any fun at the game. So it's a no-win situation a lot of times. But you know what? He makes a lot of money.
He softens the blow twice a month on the 15th and the 30th when that check comes. Second down and 9 for the Cougars out of the shadows of their own goalposts. It's been a rough first half for Kevin Cobb, the true freshman out of Stevensville, Texas. He told me that the most people he played in front of before this game was 30,000 in the state championship. But that is the end of the first half of play. Michigan leading 22-0. Right now, let's join Reese, Trev, and Mark with the Miller High Life halftime report. Guys, Michigan paid the cost to be the boss. Back to you. Over 36 million people have watched college football games here at the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And right now, the home crew liking it very much to the tune of 22-0 as we get ready for the start of the third period of play. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, Holly Rowe down in the field. Bob, it would have been easy for Michigan to overlook Houston just a little bit coming into this ball game with a huge game ahead next week against Notre Dame. But after they got into that offensive groove, it's been all Michigan running the football especially.
Well, Mark, and it really starts with Michigan's defense. Michigan's defense didn't play all that well last week against Central Michigan. There were some concerns. Gave up over 350 yards offense. But they have snuffed this Houston offense out. Houston with 3 first downs, sacked 5 times, 0 for 8 on third down, plus Michigan defense created a turnover. So it's been all Michigan defense. They responded to the challenge of not playing very well against Central Michigan.
Yeah, Houston has looked a little bit discombobulated on the offensive end of the equation. And let's take a look at our ESPN game track. Lloyd Carr's team setting the tone defensively, as you mentioned, Bob, a few moments ago. Stevens coming off the edge on that play, and this one led to a safety.
Mark, and Houston's so dependent on the screen passes. When you take the screen away, there's nowhere for the quarterback to check down to another receiver. So Michigan doing a good job of just taking away the little short passes. Houston really with nowhere to turn because there is no running game that we've seen in this offense.
Well, the running game has belonged all to the Michigan Wolverines. Underwood with a touchdown. He is the understudy for Chris Perry, who also has a rushing touchdown in the ball game. His first one coming off of a fumble by Vincent Marshall of Houston. We are underway here in the third quarter of play. Cougars going to take it out of the end zone. They need a big play, but Rashawn Pope is brought down at the 12-yard line. Let's go downstairs to Holly.
Hey guys, I talked with Houston coach Art Briles at the half, and I said, what can you do in your scheme to get some protection for your quarterback? He said, logic would tell you we would change things, but we won't. We're going to keep doing what we do. We have to get something to happen. On the other side of the sideline, Michigan's coach Lloyd Carr said they won't put in backup quarterback Mike Gutierrez. They said they want to work on the passing game. He's like, we've got to make something happen, anything happen, complete a pass. Obviously frustrated with their inability to click in the passing game, guys.
Always something to strive for and achieve, even when things are going well. First down and 10. The big fullback getting the call that time. It was Jackie Battle stopped up behind the line of scrimmage. There's the rush defense we were alluding to a few moments ago.
And that was an area of emphasis all week for this Michigan defense. They didn't feel they tackled very well against Central Michigan. Difficult week to go out there and spend a lot of time on tackling, though, when you're facing all these multiple formations of Houston throughout the week in practice.
Hats off to Jim Herman's defensive unit so far. Cobb back to pass, under heat again. This time got it off. And a flag on the play. Anthony Evans making the catch.
Mark, Michigan may have had 12 players on the field that time on defense.
Substitution infraction on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
Well, Jim Herman looking a little feisty up there. And what about his new physique, sporting a new chassis this year, Bob? He dropped some 40 pounds, huh?
Lost 40 pounds. And another decision, going up in the press box for the first time. You're used to seeing Jim Herman down on the sidelines. But Jim Herman really likes this defense. They got some young players. You see Gabe Watson, this big nose guard in there, about 315 pounds.
Houston on the toss. Bobby Tillman with no running room, tackled by Pierre Woods. Woods, a 6'5", 232-pound junior, making the stop.
And here's big Gabe right in here. You see him, number 78, coming down the line of scrimmage. Gabe has to learn that football is going sideways. There he comes. That's a lot of biscuit coming on top of that pile.
And some gravy, too, at 337 pounds. Third down and 6.
They love the talent of Gabe Watson.
Cobb, incomplete, intended for McCullough. Very inauspicious beginning to the third quarter for Houston. 3 and out.
And Houston has had some drops. McCullough right there, obviously, Mark, you've heard it 1,000 times, looking to get upfield, make a play before he had control of the football.
That's the 5th 3 and out for the Cougars today. The punt, and Preston ran one back for a touchdown, but it was called back. This time Fields hit it 38. Got a little sideways and twisted, is brought down at the 43. 5 yards on the return. Braylon Edwards with a couple of catches today after a slow start. Had the ball sail on him a couple times. That one might have been catchable. But it took a while for him and his quarterback, Navarre, to get on the same page.
Well, you're looking at the player, Mark. He had 67 catches last year for over 1,000 yards. He had 5 for 78 against Central Michigan and 2 touchdowns. So you kind of expect the unexpected and the spectacular catch. Really, his problem has been a little bit more of just concentration on the easier catches.
Edwards, his father Stanley, played at Michigan and in the NFL as a running back and tailback.
When talking about Michigan, big boost, Mark, by winning the Citrus Bowl last year against Florida. All the coaches around the office yesterday talked about coming back from that trip. As soon as the players got back from Christmas vacation, a majority of them coming by that office just excited about what they were going to do different, what they had to tweak, what each individual had to work on to get better. So winning the bowl game at the end of the year. And once again, that's my contention on why I don't like a playoff system.
You like them to play with balls and everyone wins one of their last games.
30 teams, Mark, had a positive offseason because they won their last football game last year.
First down and 10 for the Wolverines. The first possession of the second half. Edwards in motion. Play fake, complete. Out of the backfield, it's the fullback, number 35, Brian Thompson, with his first catch of the day.
Fullback's always been a big part of this passing offense. You think back last year to B.J. Askew running with the football, but more pass receiving out of the backfield and on screens.
John Navarro early in his career took the brunt of criticism for Michigan's lack of offensive power, and just like his predecessors, Greasy and Tom Brady, he has played through such criticisms and excelled. Second down and 2 for the senior. Completes the pass to Carl Tabb.
When you talk about early scheduling, how critical it is for the long-term success of your football team. Michigan struggled a little bit against Central Michigan on defense. They had over under 600 yards on Central Michigan. But you look at Lloyd Carr right now, Mark, again, getting the feeling he wants to work on this passing game. Playing early non-conference games against teams you should beat really helps you in the long run of the season.
Remember, this year, no Wisconsin or no Penn State on the schedule for Michigan. Chris Perry between the tackles. Still on his feet, Chris Perry with a first down at the 25-yard line. Compiling big numbers once again.
232 yards last week. They come again on the little draw ISO play up in there. He runs through a tackle.
Chris Perry, the offensive player of the week in the Big Ten last week, over 100 yards now. That's the 6th such game of his career.
And MVP in the Citrus Bowl last year that we talked about earlier against Florida.
Bell in motion. Little bootleg action. Navarro on the move. Incomplete. Intended for Calvin Bell. Gully in on the pass defense for Houston. Really got to know John Navarro a little bit yesterday. Real understated type of guy. And sometimes, you know, when you're the quiet type of leader, some people mistake that, Bob, for weakness. But you can be quiet and strong at the same time. And you get the feeling now that every one of the guys that we met with anyway yesterday, Bell and Butler and Chris Perry, they respect Navarro's leadership qualities.
I agree, Mark. And what hurts him, he's not a flashy style player like a Michael Vick, for example, although there's not any other Michael Vick. But that makes it hard out.
Blitz off the edge. He steps out of harm's way. Braylon Edwards laid out, almost came up with a spectacular catch, but it's incomplete. Rashawn Pope with the pressure on the quarterback, John Navarro.
But going back to John Navarro, he will leave Michigan a grown man prepared to play in the NFL. Don't tell me about the media scrutiny in big pro cities. He's been through all that media and fan scrutiny here as the quarterback at Michigan. And that's why they have so much respect for him. Not flashy, but dependable, and they know what they're going to get every time John Navarro walks out there, and they trust him.
I'm not sure any of his boys are going to enjoy the country music that he likes listening to, the Charlie Robertson stuff. That threw us all off a little bit. Third down and 10 for Navarro. Incomplete, and Holly Rowe has more on the quarterback for Michigan.
Guys, John Navarro was very frank with us yesterday about his first 2 seasons at Michigan. All of the media scrutiny. He said he wasn't having any fun. He was trying to play not to make the coaches angry, not to make the fans angry, and not to make his teammates angry. He said as a result, he played terrible, he pressed, and he had no fun at all. He said the last 2 years, he's having a blast. He's playing with some of his best friends. They're having a great time, and he says no matter what happens this season, they're going to stay focused and have fun and please themselves.
Yeah, this year, Holly says he'll be able to make more checks in the offense because they've been in it for that much longer. Some key senior leadership as well. Rivas trying to make himself 3 for 3 on the day. He made one from 43 and 38. And this one misses just left. So just when Lloyd Carr thought he might have solved some of those place-kicking woes, Rivas misses his first one from 43. Now 2 of 3 on the day and the year, but still it's all maize and blue, thinking about a national title when we come back. Michigan leading 22-0 with 12:07 to go in the third quarter. And when we spoke with Art Briles on our conference call earlier this week, asked him how he was doing, he said, man, just hanging on. That about describes it right now, Bob.
He's got some one-liners now.
First down and 10. Trying to get his offense plugged in. The pass complete into the boundary. Gained about 7 yards on the play.
You look at Houston's football team, it is a young football team. I think of their top 100 players, they have 91 of those players back next year. So I think really a talented football team. A lot of speed, a lot of good-looking athletes on the field.
A lot of experience in coaching down the hallway with Coach Yeoman still around there. Second down and 3. Trying to get to the corner is Bobby Tillman. Got to the edge and got first down yardage. And let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Guys, Larry Stevens, defensive end, has been a big part of this Michigan defense today. In fact, he's had such a busy day, he's starting to cramp up. He kind of limped over to the sidelines, and one of his teammates was on this stationary bike. He said, hey, man, we got to at least rotate. Get off. So he's on, riding the bike. Looks like he's loosening up that left hamstring that was cramping up, guys.
Yeah, you know, Holly, when you're a senior, you can tell guys to get off the bike. You got a little bit of claim and stake in that team. First and 10. Incomplete and batted down at the line of scrimmage by Kashima. Alain Kashima from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Mark, jailbreak screens are big in college football, but I don't know if I've seen the ball thrown behind the line of scrimmage any more than I have seen it today. And Michigan's done really a good job defending that screen pass.
Kashima with great speed and agility making the play. Second down and 10 for Houston. Michigan coming with a blitz. Bob wisely threw it away. Let's go back to Reese in the studio. Well, Reese Cooper might be able to make people forget about Musa Smith if he keeps up that type of work. Right here, it's third down and 10. 4-receiver formation. Cobb completes the pass for the first down to number 3, Chad McCullough. They moved the chains for one of the few times this afternoon. McCullough 5'10", 170, a sophomore. One of those young, speedy receivers for the Cougars.
And Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, probably wishes he had that third down over. Decided to rush 3 that time, maximum pass coverage and drop, and you see here with the 3-man rush, Cobb does a good job of just staying alive, gets a little bit of time. One of the toughest things, Mark, is to hold your pass coverage when the quarterback's moving with the football.
Cobb keeps it himself. Pushed out of bounds, actually stepped out of bounds near the first down marker at the 36-yard line. That time doing it with his legs, but what about with his arm, Bob?
Well, if we look at this passing chart, you can see right here how many balls thrown. 6 balls actually thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Then you add that up with 11 thrown less than 15 yards down the field. So you can see Houston's plan, get the ball to the speedy receivers. And really, that amounts to a running play for them in this offense.
This is their deepest foray into Michigan territory all afternoon. Those are the ball resting on the 35. Cobb going to take off himself. Gained about 6 yards, tackled by Lawrence Reed. Cobb once again a 6'3" true freshman from Stevensville, Texas. And Bob, he moves around a lot better in person than what we saw on tape last week.
I agree, Mark. And just looking at him on tape, you didn't think they had any chance to use any of the quarterback runs or any option. But I agree that he's a much better athlete than we thought he was looking at the tape.
Second down and 4. And a flag down on the play. Bob, tell me a little bit about Stevensville, Texas. How many times have you gone in there to recruit? And how many guys did you get?
Well, I've been there several times. It was one of my recruiting areas when I was at Texas A&M. It's southwest of Fort Worth, and Art Browse did a great job there. I think he won 4 state championships in his 14 years at Stephenville. Quite a football tradition. So when you say coming from a high school program, it's really like coming from a small college program, the emphasis they have on football.
Second down and 9. Tillman again down to the 27-yard line,
Ball
about
carried by Bobby Tillman.
2 yards short of the first down. Third down coming up.
And they're excited about Bobby Tillman as we look at him here on the screen. He's actually the cousin of Eric Dickerson, and he was injured last year and didn't play. 17 carries for 46 yards last week. They're excited about both their running backs, Bobby Tillman and Anthony Evans, number 6.
So Tillman said out last year, said that he was having a problem with seizures, but he's taking medication now, which has stopped that. Third down and 2 to go. This is the 9th play of their longest drive of the ball game. Cobb completes it, but it's going to be short of the first down. Tight end Jonathan Pritchett on the other end of the reception. Do you go for it here, Bobby? You put 3 points on the board.
I think you go for it. Although Houston has an outstanding place kicker, one of the top place kickers in the country, the market's 22-0.
And Cobb is staying on the field. Fourth down and about 3 to go. Kevin Cobb, the true freshman, has gone the entire distance. Has a man, and it's complete for the first down at the 24-yard line to Brandon Middleton. And the drive stays alive.
Give credit to Art Browse right there. Going for it on fourth down. Runs the little comeback route to Brandon Middleton. Cobb, good throw. Keeps the drive alive.
First down and 10 from the 23. The toss to Tillman, who's back in the ball game. Slips and falls back at the 23-yard line. Kaufman was there to make sure.
This Michigan defense, Jim Herman really thinks they are a talented group. They just need to come together. They've got a lot of experienced players, and he's mixing in there with some young, talented players. He really likes the foundation of this defense. There you look at Patrick Massey, a young player out of Cleveland, Ohio, very highly recruited. Actually started last week at defensive end. Backs up this week.
Massey along with Harrison, Watson, some of the key guys in that second unit. Second and 10. Down to the 20-yard line before he stopped up. And Reese, what's up with Mr. Manning's Heisman? Up by just a field goal. Flag down on the play. And they're going to whistle this one dead, actually.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Bob, you touched on it earlier, Bob. When you're at home and you're playing within the friendly confines of your own stadium and things are going right, it's one thing. But in a hostile environment like this, they've looked a little bit ragged at times.
Well, a lot of moving parts in this offense, Mark. You notice a lot of shifting, a lot of substitution. You see right here players running on and off the field. I think one of the key things in this offense is to be able to execute at a consistent level.
Over 100,000 here today, but it's not what you would think from a crowd of 100,000 in terms of noise. Pressure coming. Cobb almost threw it into the hands of Massey. Jacob Stewart putting the heat on.
Batted down by Patrick Massey.
Mark, anytime you're going to go no backs, if you look at this, there are 5 potential blockers. Michigan is going to bring right here 6 rushers. And that quarterback is going to have to run for his life in the no-back offense. There's no way they can get the maximum protection.
Number 7, Dustin Bell will tip the field
Take this field goal,
goal.
Jimmy McClary. Was 2 of 3 a week ago against Rice. And he knocks this one through, so it took almost a half of a quarter for Art Browse's crew to get on the board. Coming up, we'll find out who's Hawley's unsung hero is. Stick around. Don't want to miss it. Michigan Wolverines leading 22-3 after that field goal by the Cougars a few moments ago. We're here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe down in the field. 6:49 to go in the third quarter of play.
Impressive drive by the UH Cougars. The best part of that drive, number one, they got points. Second, they let their defense stand over on that sidelines a little bit and get it down to 6:49 in the third quarter.
A little warm here today, and you never know what can go wrong in heated conditions like this, whether it's on the field or on the sidelines. The kick goes into the end zone, and Holly Rose, something went wrong, but you can tell us about your unsung hero that fixed it, right?
Hey guys, this year we're keeping our eye out for people who are not big name people in front of the game that you might see a lot of attention about. But this guy is so important. Bob Wierzicki. He had to work under pressure during halftime. He's an electrician here at Michigan Stadium, and guess whose headset went out? Head coach Lloyd Carr. So he brought out the soldering gun. He had all kinds of equipment out trying to get that headset fixed for the second half. No pressure, right, guys? For that, he's our unsung hero.
All right, Holly. Good job. They got resources here, man. Get a soldering iron, a drop of a hat. Resources and players like Chris Perry as well. And let's go back to Reese in the studio. All right, we're going to stay right here. Lloyd Carr, that headset working and functioning. How many times has yours gone down on you in games, Bob?
I'll tell you, Mark, what was really tough is when you used to have the wired headsets, and the managers and student managers used to have to keep track of that wire and keep it from getting tangled up on the sideline. That was really tough.
Perry with another carry. Out to the 37-yard line. Interesting story with Chris Perry. His mother moved from North Carolina into the Ann Arbor area to be close to her son. And I mentioned his father played football at North Carolina A&T, but his mother noticed that she didn't really have a feel for what was going on in Ann Arbor, so she started up a twice-a-month magazine of contemporary events. Keep people in tune. 2nd down and 4. Pass complete. Edwards hangs on to it over midfield to the 48-yard line. Lance Everson missed a tackle for Houston. A 15-yard pickup for Braylon Edwards.
Michigan with the play-action pass. Going to get a good look right here at John Navarre hitting a little curl route to Braylon Edwards. Catches it with his hands and then gets upfield.
First down for Michigan at the Houston 49.
1st down and 10 at the 48-yard line. Perry bouncing outside, then cutting back in. Brought down at the 30, actually 41. Gain of about 8 on the play for Chris Perry.
The thing I like about Chris Perry, he gives you the juke, the inside-out move, Mark, but then he gets upfield north and south. You know, he's added a little wrinkle to his game, but he's still that hammer going north and south with the football.
With a little bit more funk in the trunk this year. 123 yards and the meter still running. Perry getting stronger as the game goes on, still on his feet and brought down at the 23-yard line. Got a good block, and let's go back to Reese. Plenty of time for them to come back. Reese, 1st down and 10 right here. Michigan in control. Out of the offset eye, it's Chris Perry once again. Looked like he fumbled it and got it back. Boy, when it's going well for you, Bob. Lost the handle and got it right back in his arms.
It may be old-fashioned football, putting 2 backs in the backfield, but the advantage of having a big fullback like Kevin Dudley in the game is that you have a lead blocker. But there you see when it's going good, it's going good. That ball spiraled right up in the air for Chris Perry. But you see Kevin Dudley, the fullback, right here on the kick-out block on the outside linebacker. He's played an exceptional football game. And that fullback, he better know his rule because he's not going to carry it many times in modern day football.
Got to give it to him a couple times. 2nd down and 4. Ball to the short side of the field, completes the pass to number 17, Tab. Right on the money from John Navarre, special delivery.
Speed receiver Carl Tab. John Navarre, the football didn't sail on him this time. Michigan, interestingly, taking a play of Houston's playbook, going to the no-back, spread you out all across the field.
John Navarre cut his hair down to a little buzz cut. Looked pretty sharp there in our meetings yesterday. Dressed for success. 1st down and 10. Sequoia in motion. They give it to Underwood. Underwood tripped up, falls forward to the 8-yard line. Underwood had 11 carries for a total of 64 yards rushing last week against Central Michigan.
And we talked about fullback Kevin Dudley. right here, he's really like a guard in the backfield. As you're going to see him lead through once again, low pad level, does a good job blocking Houston's linebacker, number 44, Lance Everson.
2nd down and 6. Edwards in the slot to the right. Now in motion. Or gives it to Perry. Got a great block. Touchdown, Chris Perry. His 2nd one of the day. Chris Perry with the burst over the right side of that offensive line. Made it into the end zone.
Big drive for Michigan just to get back on track and continue having confidence, Mark. They are a balanced offensive football team. You can run the football the way they can run it.
Chris Perry with his 2nd score of the day. This is Rivas for the extra point. They lead 29-3. Michigan Wolverines thinking about a Big Ten title and also playing in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Looking pretty sweet right now. We'll be back. Number 7th ranked Michigan leading 29-3 here in Ann Arbor. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Holly Rowe. Michigan giving up just a field goal so far defensively in this game. They're pitching a shutout into the 3rd quarter. That's Laird. Justin Laird still on his feet. Out to the 28-yard line. One more look at that nice run off the right side by Chris Perry for the score.
And we go back to the touchdown. We talk again, when you angle the front or slant him, if you get blocked down on it, just caves you out. Here Michigan runs the power. You're going to see the tight end Massaquoi blocked down on the defensive end. Gets great movement. Right here, fullback Dudley up under his chops. Backside guard pulling through. That is Michigan's signature play, the power. But once again, Houston slanting those defensive ends inside, create a huge cavern right there.
1st down and 10. Cobb fires complete at the 27-yard line. Number 32, Matt Shermer, making the catch. Well, tonight at 7:15 to full health after that knee injury for Florida State. 2nd and 12, pass complete. Tackling at a premium. As the Michigan secondary has done a good job doing just that today. And speaking of Oklahoma and Alabama, the other game tonight. First number 1 team to visit Tallahassee, Tuscaloosa. What do you think of this one, Bob?
Well, I think it's going to be a great football game. Oklahoma going in playing at night in Tuscaloosa. But one thing about Oklahoma, they've been through it. And they coach with a certain arrogance and confidence that I think is really contagious with that football team. I think Bob Stoops does a great job.
Pass complete to McCullough. He's brought down behind the line of scrimmage by Marlon Jackson.
And Michigan, Mark, so athletic. When you spread the field and throw those screens, guys like Marlon Jackson, the reason they moved him to strong safety, they really want to get 3 corners on the field at the same time. He gives them tremendous versatility as a strong safety because he's a corner that can, he's really a corner back there that can play man-to-man on the 3rd wide receiver.
There's number 30, Curry, back to receive the 8th punt of the day from Jimmy McClary. Low snap. Got it off barely under heat. It'll end up being a pretty good punt for Houston. Let's go downstairs to Holly.
Hey guys, we are here with Andy Atcho. He is representative Ford Motor Company who donated the rubber that was used to make this field. How in the world did you get old tires to use on this field?
Well, we at Ford Motor Company hired a company called RTG to pick up tires from Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers. None of them went to landfills. They cut them up. They freeze them with liquid nitrogen. They shatter them into millions of pieces. A big magnet pulls out all the metal. Air blows off the fiber. And what's left is this crumb rubber. And this crumb rubber is then put on the field with sand. And that way we have a project.
Back to you in just a moment.
And Holly, ask him if he can get some of that for my patio back home. Here's Chris Perry with another nice run across midfield and back to Holly.
Well, the interesting thing here, guys, is if you can get a shot of this rubber is what's put down on the field. Water goes through this, but it can't come back up. So when it rains, this is a great surface to play on. Then the field starts out this long. Then they put this recycled rubber down, and it ends up being as short as this. So that tells you how much rubber is in this field. Ford donated over $50,000 for this. What made you get involved with Michigan like that?
Well, Ford Motor Company wants to be a leader in environmental stewardship. Bill Ford is one of the experts in this area, and the amount of rubber that we donated for this project would fill 33 of our new F-150 trucks. That's how much rubber we're talking about.
All right, well, thanks for your time and thanks for your contribution. The field feels great.
And it's also going to save on injuries, so we appreciate being part of that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Holly. And that's the could be the last play of the third quarter. And speaking of the field and the rubber in it, so far Michigan has straight up burned rubber on Houston. 29-3 at the end of the third period. John Navarre painting a masterpiece of a game so far. Back for the fourth right after this. And this is Underwood, the understudy, looking like the leading man. First down, Michigan at the 21-yard line of Houston.
You get great execution offensively when you run the same plays over and over and over. Here they come with the outside power play again. Matt Lentz, 67, coming around the horn, and David Underwood gets his chance to run through that cavern, Mark.
A 21-yard pickup for Chris Perry's backup. Michigan really starting to separate themselves from Houston in every statistic. Edwards in motion. Edwards again, staying on his feet, broke one tackle and is hauled down to the 12. Gotta be impressed with David Underwood. Gully finally making the tackle.
They like David Underwood. David Underwood last year contemplated leaving and transferring. Lloyd Carr talked to his father after the season, and his father said he is at Michigan. He's committed to be at Michigan. Interesting, he committed to Michigan, Mark, without ever visiting the campus. He grew up 20 minutes away from Texas A&M, but he always dreamed of wearing that helmet and playing for the Wolverines.
Perry back in the ball game now for Underwood. Perry down to the 9-yard line. Let's go back to Reese. Think about how many games Ohio State won down the stretch last year. They could have easily had 3 losses. Instead, they win the national title. So no strangers in this situation. This is Underwood from Michigan. Down to the 9-yard line. Such a fine line, Bob, between going and winning the national championship. And think about the close calls that Ohio State had, especially against Purdue.
Mark, how many teams across this country using the model of Ohio State last year to say, you know what, we have a chance to win the national championship. Look back at Ohio State. Not a dominating team, but a team because of kicking game, defense, winning close games. When we get back to this Michigan team, solving that kicker problem may be the difference between Michigan going to the Sugar Bowl or not going to the Sugar Bowl this year.
That's their destination and goal. Second down and goal to go. Navarre into the end zone. Touchdown, Braylon Edwards. Hanging on for sure.
Houston lets Braylon Edwards inside. John Navarre throws it behind him a little bit, but excellent concentration right there by Braylon Edwards. And I think pretty soon you're going to see those Michigan backups on offense, because that's what Lloyd Carr wanted to see, that finishing statement out of John Navarre and Braylon Edwards.
Rivas with the extra point is good, and you can almost hear the huge sigh of relief coming from Braylon Edwards. Last week he dropped one like that. It was thrown behind him. This time, hugs onto it. We'll be back. Number 1, Braylon Edwards knows about the responsibility that goes along with wearing that number. At a 9-yard touchdown catch a few moments ago, his 3rd of the season. Did not start last week, but started this week and started to produce here after the second quarter. This is Pope on the return for the Cougars. Flag down, Pope down to the 27. Talked about Edwards wearing number 1. There has been a long list of distinguished number ones here at Michigan. Anthony Carter, AC, and Derek Alexander, 89 to 83. Only Wolverine to catch 4 touchdown passes in a game, and then David Terrell, and now Braylon Edwards carrying that prize number 1 on his back. A touchdown catch a few moments ago.
Really good concentration right there. He knew he was going to get hit by the safety. He dropped one of those last week against Central Michigan. Excellent job of concentrating, looking that football in.
It's the type of catch that a parent, especially a father, would be proud of. And let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe for more.
We're standing by with Stanley Edwards. He played here at Michigan for Bo Schembechler, so he knows something about playing in the pressure. Your son, Braylon Edwards, under some scrutiny this week from Lloyd Carr. What advice did you give him on how to handle that situation?
Well, this is big-time college football, and you be careful with what you ask for. He asked for the number 1, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with that. So I told him, you know something? You're not going to get treated like everyone else. The pressure is going to be on you, and the focus is going to be on you, and you have to perform. So you cannot really let your guard down and relax. You have to be on top of your game all the time. You can't lose your edge.
You know, people this week said that he's not on the same page with Lloyd Carr, but then Lloyd told us that he never has to get on Braylon. He goes to class. He's one of those young men that police himself. How have you instilled that in him?
Well, it's the only thing. When you do what you're supposed to do, then you can do what you want to do. And Braylon's always been brought up in an environment where you have to be accountable and responsible for yourself. So he's carried that this far. He was not a very highly recruited kid coming out of high school, so we're very pleased where he's gone so far.
What were your thoughts when you saw him get into the end zone? He kind of flopped down like, whoo, finally.
Yeah, he was having a rough go of it today. They were double teaming him. They were playing cover 2 with him, safety on top, shading him. So, and he's been having a little bit, a few skirmishes with coming to defensive back. So I'm quite sure they're trying to get a notch on the belt on him. So he's pretty relieved to at least get in the end zone on those guys. But it's been a rough go. The team is finally starting to open its lead a little bit. So it's been a tough day for him today.
I think Bob Davey in the booth just got chills when he said cover 2 and shade. Have you ever thought about going into coaching?
No, not at all. Being a parent is enough work for me.
All right, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
All right, Holly. And Stan, former Wolverine player. Before he went on to the NFL, pretty good tailback.
Mark, what a reinforcement it is as a coach to have a father like that, to reinforce the message you're trying to give to the young man as a head coach. Very unselfish. He's been through it. He knows what the bottom line is. That's an impressive, impressive father right there.
Especially in a day and age when a lot of fathers, frankly, and straight up, don't get the credit that they should for parenting. Stanley Edwards, a model. He and his son, Braylon. This is the 9th punt of the day for Houston. Edwards, by the way, rushed for over 2,200 career yards at Michigan.
Stay on, Leon!
Clary Fields kicks it, and it's Curry at the 45. Flags down. For the punt cover team encroaching on the punt returner. Curry, a 35-yard punt. Of course, they changed the halo rule this year. They did away with it. It's going to be a hold against the return team, Michigan.
Holding on the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Looks like Michigan, Mark. Lloyd Carr has the opportunity to play his second offense right now with 11:28 left in this football game.
Well, one of the questions that beg, how would Lloyd Carr look with those beads around his neck on Bourbon Street? Can they make it to the Nokia Sugar Bowl? We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Ann Arbor, Michigan. 36-3, the home team in control from the opening kickoff. And right now, Matt Gutierrez in the ball game, the backup quarterback. Last year, he was number 3, and this guy is from one of the more storied high school programs in the country, Bob.
Well, he's never lost a game. Bottom line, I mean, De La Salle something over 100 and some straight wins, and they're excited about Gutierrez, the eventual successor to John Navarre.
Last week he was 3 of 3. This is Underwood breaking loose once again. Underwood's had a nice game today. Reese Davis, what's up? How long do you think it's going to take the Bluebirds to come out in Happy Valley?
They're out.
Already Jopa with a bounce back year last year of sorts. They're expecting a lot more this season. First down and 10. The third string tailback, Tim Brackett, in the ball game. Down to the 13-yard line, and Michigan, we talked about them not only hoping to win the Big Ten, but beyond, going to the Nokia Sugar Bowl, a very favorable of sorts schedule at Oregon, at Minnesota, but no Wisconsin or Penn State on the skid this year.
Well, and once again, I mean, there's a lot of football left. I think getting Gutierrez, the backup quarterback, in the game is the first thing I think about. The kicking game, are they solid with the freshman field goal kicker? But you're right, they have a favorable schedule, and they are a talented football team with experience, Mark. So,
yeah, they get Ohio State at home as well. Penalty is against Michigan.
What you like about Michigan, experience on this football team, both sides of the ball. They're a balanced football team that can run and throw, and they're a talented football team. A lot of young, talented football players that have brought energy to this football team. The Steve Brestons, the Carl Tapps, the David Underwoods, who haven't played a lot. So I think they're the total package.
Handoff this time. This is number 20, Rembert, in the ball game. And he may score. Rembert, touchdown, Wolverines. Wolverines really putting the bling-bling on now. An 18-yard touchdown run by Pierre Rembert.
And you love to see these young players, if you're Lloyd Carr, get rewarded, Mark, for all their investments, all their hard work in practice. And nothing is more positive going into the Notre Dame week than having a bunch of football players who played in the game the past Saturday and had some success.
Rivas in for the extra point. Michigan now leads 43-3. Rembert with his first career touchdown. We'll be back with more from Ann Arbor right after this. And we are back in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Wolverines, ranked number 7 in the country, in control, leading by 40 points. Rembert, after scoring the touchdown, back out on special teams.
And one of the problems Houston has, in a long list of problems, it's not like they can just line up and run this football and get out of here and keep that clock going, Mark.
This is Justin Laird with the return out to the 27-yard line. And Reese Davis, some people think Wake is fake. What do you
17-7, guys.
This is Evans on the carry. Bob, you worked with Lou Holtz, now at South Carolina. You guys work together at Notre Dame. If there's anyone that can motivate a team and get them ready for a ranked opponent, it's certainly him, huh?
Well, and I think it also shows you, we talked about Gutierrez in at quarterback for Michigan. The backup quarterback becomes so important. Virginia, high expectations, loses their senior quarterback. There's such a drop-off between that starter and backup in a lot of programs, Mark. And but you're right, Lou's a great football coach. In fact, he's coaching the defense this year for South Carolina.
Second down and 8. Cobb sacked once again back at the 17-yard line. Philly with the sack, and we're here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Number 7, Wolverines, sparkling so far, leading big time, 43-3. I'm Mark Jones, along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe, and 109,000 plus on hand, the largest crowd to watch a Houston game. And for Michigan, just another day, just another home game for them. They're used to this. Third down and 19 for the Cougars. That was the 6th sack of the afternoon for the Michigan defense, and we think that they would be considered highly for the MVP award. Pass incomplete off the hands of Vincent Marshall. Don't forget, coming up next, college game.
Really difficult if you're Houston. First of all, you have to find out something you can do as this season goes on. But it's tough to play defense for an offense that just throws the football down after down without any semblance of a rushing game.
Got to be in shape because he could be on the field a long time, like the defense has been today. The 10th punt of the afternoon for McClary. Ball back at the 39 for Michigan. Chopped down immediately. Well, big time in the prime time tonight on
Look back last year, a little different opponent, obviously, when they opened up against Notre Dame, but they really looked poor in their opening game last year. So Maryland's been through it before. I mean, Ralph Friedgen does a great job. We had him late in the season, Mark. Still a lot of football left to be played.
Real offensive genius. First down and 10 for Michigan. Another tailback getting a look. This is Jerome Jackson in the ball game.
Mark, and if you look around this stadium, not a lot of Michigan people leaving. I mean, you can tell they're excited about the young talent on this football team. You just want to stick around and watch these guys get their hands on the football because they are exciting.
You know, the Michigan crowd here has kind of been scrutinized as maybe a little too laid back. Some people claim they sip on too much Chardonnay pre-game. Mellows them out a little bit too much, but I think it's just the way the stadium is built. It really isn't as noisy as you'd think for 100,000 plus. Good hands that time by the third-string tight end making the catch out of bounds. That's number 89, Tyler Ecker.
You hear that about Michigan's crowd, but and you're right. I mean, it's not like going into Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium, or maybe going into Knoxville and Neyland Stadium with that fiery atmosphere. But 175 games of 100,000 and more. Give them a little bit of credit there. I mean, that's a pretty good group of wine sippers showing up every week.
They show up. First down and 10. Right up the middle again. Number 24, Jackson on the loose. Jerome Jackson. Finally hauled down at the 8-yard line. The Michigan running game continues to chew up real estate. A 41-yard gain by Jackson.
And you see the young tailback Jerome Jackson once again on the ISO. Hits it right up the gut. I mean, Mark, that's a gaping hole. If you're Houston's defense, you never practice against the run. You never practice against the I formation because your offense is spread out all over the field. Difficult to line up and stop the run when you can't practice against it in practice, Mark.
What about Jerome Jackson, Bob, showing a little bit of shake? First down and goal. This is Rembert. And Rembert is brought down at the line of scrimmage. So we've seen Perry have a very prolific day. David Underwood very good as well. Rembert and now Jackson carrying the ball. 4 different tailbacks have run the ball. Perry for 184. Underwood right there on your screen, 11 rushes, a total of 108 yards and a touchdown. Now, Bob, that's the picture of depth. That's what they need.
And when you get it, you better do something with it. Good players in competition makes you even better.
See, it's a well-oiled offensive machine for Michigan. Jerome Jackson tripped up inside the 5 at about the 4-yard line.
Another fullback in the game, 35, Brian Thompson, taking over where Kevin Dudley, 32, has let off, just like another guard in the backfield. Here you see him line up with a tight end, second tight end in the backfield, number 82.
Going to blow this one dead as Jackson is stopped up before he can get untracked.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, it's still third down.
Back to Reese in the studio. Can't help but wonder if that Reese Claret situation has taken its toll a little bit on the Buckeyes as a team. Ball down to the 6-yard line, and there are reports that Claret may not play this year at all.
Lance Everson led the defenders.
But in programs like Ohio State, like Michigan, there's always another guy, Bob Davie, in the waiting.
Well, Mark, and one thing when you're dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, there's always going to be problems.
Just the nature of the biz. 4th down and goal, they're going to go for it. Gutierrez hands it off. Rembert. Touchdown, Michigan. Three different tailbacks have scored touchdowns this afternoon for the Wolverines. Perry, Underwood, and now Rembert joins the club. Ribas in for the extra point. It's 50-3. They have been the picture, the paragon of perfection this afternoon. You can color this day all maize and blue. Back at the big house in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. Rembert with a touchdown a few moments ago, tacking a few more on the board. Michigan Wolverines next week will take on Notre Dame here. It's interesting. We found when we were downtown in Ann Arbor last night for dinner. I'll tell you about that in just a bit. This is Pope on the return for the Cougars. Pope tackled out at the 23-yard line. Let's go to Reese in the studio.
Oh.
All right, Purdue with a big battle next week against Wake Forest. Should be an intriguing matchup. Should Purdue pull that out?
Should we get the Year of the Deacon bumper stickers
Get it
out
started,
right
man. Get it started. I'm one for a bandwagon. I'll build a bandwagon in a heartbeat. You know me.
Houston player.
Second down and 4. Let's go down to Holly on the field.
Guys, for the first time ever, Michigan opened up a student contest for a student to design a T-shirt that the entire student body will be wearing here by the end of the season. This is David Porter, a graphic design student. David, how did you come up with the idea for this T-shirt?
Well, most importantly, Michigan and football is all about tradition. I want to keep everything plain and simple.
So you came up with this beautiful takeoff of the winged helmet look. They even used it for the media guide cover. You can see all of the students in the crowd here with it. What was your reaction when you were told you were the winning student?
Oh, I was thrilled. I got to go down on the field. I got to hold the banner. I mean, I love it. It's a dream come true.
All right. Well, you're now a design major. Any other fashions coming up?
We'll see what I can do. Yeah.
All right, guys. They are going to add some T-shirts down the stretch. Everybody's encouraged to buy them, and then they are going to open this up every year from now on, guys, so it will become a new tradition for the students.
All right, Holly, can only hope that the T-shirt got him at least a B+, Bob, for his class.
Tell you what, you find out at places like Michigan, football is so important to so many people. The student body comes here with high expectations. They expect at least one national champion in their 4 years at Michigan. That goes with paying that high tuition at a place like Michigan.
Tillman on the run, and don't forget, got some good stuff coming up on ESPN. Football wall to wall.
Mark, and if you're Michigan, you have to be happy that their defense responded this week. Jim Herman said they had 2 great days of practice. You could sense that they really got after their defensive players in practice this week. He loves the leadership, and I think they really tackled well today against a little team with some quick wide receivers.
Yeah, it was going to be at a premium today. Second down and 8. Back at quarterback Bassler still in the ball game. Incomplete. Let's go to Reese in the studio. What's up?
4 turnovers.
It's a normal start.
San Diego State has 4 turnovers.
Played well given the circumstances, perhaps we should say. Michigan, it's a final now. Michigan rolls, doing it on the ground once again. 50-3, the final there. But the Wolverines' arch rival still in a fight. Let's go back now to Columbus. Eric Collins and Randy White delivering